The hearing was held in the station's main conference room. Jake had never seen so many important people in one place. There were humans from Earth government, representatives from the Kithran Empire, scientists from the Galactic Research Institute, and religious leaders from the Order of the Seeing Eye. Judge Harper Stone, a stern-looking human woman, was brought in to decide Zira's fate. She would listen to everyone and make the final choice. Jake sat at a table with Zira beside him. She looked very small in the big room full of adults. She wore her best dress, the one Jake had bought her for special occasions. Her scales were bright and healthy, but her hands shook a little. "It's going to be okay," Jake whispered to her. Elderthex spoke first. He stood tall and proud, his voice filling the room. "The child Zira is blessed by the ancient gods," he said. "She has the sacred sight that was promised in our oldest prophecies. She belongs with her people, learning the ways of the seeing ones. Only we can teach her to use her gifts properly." High Priestess Sala, an elderly Kithran female with elaborate robes, spoke next. "Zira is the one we have waited for," she said, in a mystical voice. "She will bring our people into a new age of enlightenment. But first, she must come home and train in our sacred temples." Dr. Marcus Webb from the Research Institute was more direct. "Zira's abilities could benefit all species," he said. "Her unique vision could help us understand parts of the universe we've never seen before. We can offer her the best education and training while studying her gifts for the good of science." Ambassador Cole spoke for the human government. "While we understand Mr. Morrison's attachment to the child, we must consider what's best for humanity's relationship with other species. Keeping Zira could damage our diplomatic ties." Then it was Jake's turn to speak. He stood up slowly, his heart beating fast. He was not good at talking to important people, but this was the most important speech of his life. "Your Honor," he began, his voice shaky at first, "I'm just a maintenance worker. I fix pipes and clean air filters. I'm not a diplomat or a scientist or a religious leader. But I know one thing that all these important people seem to have forgotten." Jake looked down at Zira, who was watching him with trusting eyes. "Zira is not a prophet or a test subject or a diplomatic tool. She's a little girl. She likes to draw pictures and eat sweet fruit and listen to bedtime stories. She laughs when I tell her silly jokes and cries when she has bad dreams." Jake's voice got stronger as he continued. "For 6 months, I've watched her grow from a scared, abandoned child into a happy, confident kid. She's learned to speak English. She's made friends. She has a home where she feels safe and loved." Jake paused and looked around the room at all the powerful people. "You all want to use her for something. Her prophecy, her abilities, her value to science or diplomacy. But I just want her to be happy. I want her to choose her own path when she's old enough to decide." Jake sat back down. His hands were shaking, but he felt like he had said what needed to be said. Judge Stone looked at Zira. "Young lady, do you understand what's happening here today?" Zira nodded and stood up. Even though she was nervous, her voice was clear when she spoke. "Yes, Mom. Everyone wants me to go with them for different reasons. But I want to stay with Jake. He's my family. What if you could learn about your special abilities? Wouldn't that interest you? Maybe someday," Zira said. "But right now, I just want to be a kid. Jake lets me be a kid." Elderthex made an angry sound. "The child does not understand her destiny." Zira turned to look at him. "I understand that you threw me away when you thought I was cursed. Now you want me back because you think I'm useful. But Jake wanted me even when nobody else did." Her words hung in the air like a challenge. "Judge." Stone asked to speak with several witnesses. Dr. Kevin testified about Zira's health and happiness. Betty talked about watching Zira grow more confident every day. Lieutenant Paul described how well-adjusted she had become. Then something unexpected happened. Old Korvek the merchant asked to speak. "I am Kitharin," he said in his gruff voice. "I have lived many years and seen many things. This human, Jake Morrison, has done something remarkable. He has shown us what true kinship means." Korvak looked directly at Elder Thex. "Our people abandoned this child because of old superstitions. We called her cursed and threw her away like garbage. But this human saw her true worth. He cared for her when we would not. By our own laws, he has more right to call her daughter than we do." Elder Thex tried to argue, but Korvak held up his hand. "There is an old Kitharin saying, 'The parent is not the one who creates the child, but the one who loves the child.' Jake Morrison is this child's true parent." Even more surprising, Elder Matron Vess, a progressive Kitharin leader, spoke in support of Jake. "Perhaps it is time we learned from this human's example," she said. "Perhaps love and choice matter more than blood and tradition." After hours of testimony, Judge Stone called for a recess. Jake and Zira waited in a small room while the judge made her decision. "Whatever happens," Jake told Zira, "remember that you are loved. You are special, and you have the right to choose your own future." When they returned to the conference room, Judge Stone looked serious. "This case has raised unprecedented questions about family, culture, and individual rights," she began. "After careful consideration, I have made my decision." The room was completely silent. Zira will remain with Jake Morrison as her legal guardian. However, she will also have the right to learn about her Kitharin heritage and abilities when she chooses. To do so, Jake felt like he couldn't breathe. They had won, but Judge Stone wasn't finished. This case will establish new precedents for interspecies adoption. Love and commitment matter more than species or culture when it comes to family. Elder Thex was furious. "This is an outrage. The child belongs with her people." But Elder Matron Vess silenced him. "The child belongs where she chooses to belong, and she has chosen." 5 years later, Jake watched as 16-year-old Zira carefully calibrated a complex navigation system using her special vision. She had become the station's youngest technical specialist, helping ships navigate through dangerous space anomalies that normal instruments couldn't detect. She still lived with Jake, but she had also learned about her Kitharin heritage from Elder Matron Vess, who visited regularly. Zira spoke both languages fluently and understood both cultures. "Jake," she said, looking up from her work, "do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't found me in that tunnel?" Jake smiled. "Every day. But then I remember that we found each other exactly when we needed to." "I still think you're the one who saved me," Zira said. "No," Jake replied, watching his daughter work with pride. "We saved each other." Outside the station's windows, ships from dozens of worlds came and went. Among them were other families like theirs, humans and aliens who had chosen love over prejudice, hope over fear. Jake Morrison had started something that day when he refused to let one small girl be thrown away. He had shown the galaxy that family wasn't about species or blood or prophecies. Family was about choosing to love someone and never letting go. And sometimes that choice could change everything. Jake thought the worst of their troubles were over. He was wrong. 2 months after Zira moved in with him, strange things started happening. Jake noticed people watching them more than usual. Some were humans he didn't recognize. Others were aliens from species he'd never seen before. "Jake," Lieutenant Paul Davis pulled him aside one day after work. "We need to talk." Paul looked serious, which worried Jake. Paul was usually cheerful and easygoing. "What's wrong?" Jake asked. "There are rumors going around about Zira. People saying she has special abilities, that she can see things others can't." Jake tried to keep his face calm. "What kind of things?" "I don't know exactly. But there are some very powerful people asking questions about her. The kind of people who make problems for regular folks like us. That night, Jake talked to Dr. Amy Chun privately. Someone leaked the information about Zira's abilities, Amy said, looking worried. I don't know who, but it wasn't me. What does this mean? Jake asked. It means trouble. There's a Kithrin religious group called the Order of the Seeing Eye. They believe that Kithrins with special vision are sacred. They think Zira might be some kind of prophet. Jake felt his stomach drop, and they want her back. Yes, and they're not the only ones. There's also a scientific research group that studies beings with unusual abilities. They've made inquiries about purchasing Zira for their experiments. Over my dead body, Jake said angrily. It might come to that, Amy warned. These aren't people who take no for an answer. The next day, Jake got called to a meeting with Captain Maria Santos. When he arrived at her office, there were several other people there. Ambassador Rex Cole, a human diplomat, Agent Lisa Brooks from Intelligence, and someone Jake really didn't want to see Elder Vex was back. Sit down, Jake, Captain Santos said. Her voice was gentle, but serious. Jake sat, feeling like he was in trouble at school. We need to discuss Zira's situation, Ambassador Cole began. It's become quite complicated. She's fine where she is, Jake said quickly. Elder Vex made a hissing sound that might have been laughter. The human still thinks he knows what is best. The child belongs with her own people now. She is blessed by the old gods. Yesterday you said she was cursed, Jake pointed out. That was before we understood her true nature. She is Kithik Vishin, the seeing one. She must come home to fulfill her destiny. Ambassador Cole cleared his throat. There's also the matter of the research proposal. The Galactic Science Institute has offered substantial compensation for the opportunity to study Zira's unique abilities. She's not for sale, Jake said firmly. Agent Brooks spoke up for the first time. Mr. Morrison, I understand your attachment to the child, but we have to consider the bigger picture. Zira could be very valuable to human interests. Her abilities could help with navigation, security, many things. Jake looked around the room at all these important people discussing Zira, like she was an object instead of a little girl. Has anyone asked Zira what she wants? He said. They all looked surprised by the question. She's a child, Elder Vex said. Children do not decide such things. This child does, Jake said, standing up. And if you want to take her away from me, you'll have to go through the courts. I'm her legal guardian. Your guardianship is temporary, Ambassador Cole reminded him. It can be revoked. Then revoke it, but I won't hand her over quietly. Jake left the meeting angry and scared. When he got home, Zira took one look at his face and knew something was wrong. They want to take me away, don't they? She said quietly. Jake sat down heavily on their couch. There was no point in lying to her. Some people think you should live with other Kithrins. Others want to study your special vision. I don't want to go with them, Zira said, sitting beside him. I want to stay with you. Then we'll fight them, Jake said. All of them. But you're just one human. They have money and power and lots of people. Jake looked at her small, scared face. You know what? You're right. I am just one human. But I'm a human who loves you. And sometimes that's enough. Over the next few days, Jake reached out to everyone he could think of for help. Dr. Kevin agreed to testify about Zira's health and happiness. Lieutenant Paul promised to provide security if needed. Betty from the food place said she would speak about how well Zira was doing. Even some aliens offered support. Old Korvik the merchant was angry about how the other Kithrins were treating Zira. They throw her away like garbage, then want her back when they think she might be useful, he said. It is shameful. But Jake's biggest surprise came from Dr. Amy Chun. I've been doing more research on Zira's abilities, Amy told him. I think I know why the Order of the Seeing Eye is so interested in her. Why? According to old Kithaeron prophecies, a child will be born with golden scales who can see beyond the veil between worlds. This child will lead the Kithaerons to a new age of understanding. Jake stared at Amy. You think Zira is this prophesied child? I think some people believe she might be, and that makes her incredibly valuable to them. But what if she doesn't want to be a prophet? What if she just wants to be a kid? Amy smiled sadly. That's not usually how prophecies work, Jake. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about all the powerful people who wanted to control Zira's life. How could one maintenance worker fight against religious orders and government agencies? And scientific institutes? He found Zira sitting by their window, looking out at the stars. Can't sleep either? He asked. Dotch shook her head. I keep thinking about what will happen if they take me away. Will I ever see you again? Jake sat down beside her. I don't know what's going to happen, Zira, but I promise you this. I will never stop fighting for you. Even if they take you to the other side of the galaxy, I will find a way to get to you. Promise? I promise. We're family, remember? And family never gives up on each other. Zira leaned against Jake's shoulder. I love you, Jake. I love you too, kiddo. More than all the stars in the sky. Outside their window, ships came and went from the station. Some carried traders, others carried diplomats, and still others carried people Jake didn't want to think about. But inside their small quarters, a human man and an alien child held onto each other and hoped that love would be enough to keep them together. Tomorrow would bring the hearing that would decide Zira's future. Tonight, they were still family. Living with Zira was both wonderful and challenging. Jake had never taken care of a child before, let alone an alien child. Everything was new and sometimes confusing. The first problem was food. Kithaerons needed certain minerals that humans didn't. Jake had to learn to cook with strange vegetables and supplements. Sometimes Zira would taste something he made and make a face. Too salty, she would say, or too sweet, or tastes like metal. But Jake kept trying. Slowly, he learned what she liked. Zira was patient with him, even when his cooking was terrible. The second problem was language. Zira spoke some English, but when she was scared or excited, she switched back to Kithaeron. Jake bought language learning programs and studied every night after work. Jack Moore's son, Zira would say, trying to pronounce his full name in her accent. Your tongue is very hard to use. Tell me about it, Jake laughed. Catherine clicks and hisses are impossible for me. But they both kept trying. Soon, Jake could say basic things in Kithaeron, and Zira's English got better every day. The biggest challenge was other people. Some humans on the station were kind to Zira. Mehdi from the food place always saved special treats for her. Dr. Kevin checked on her health regularly. Lieutenant Paul Davis, a security officer, would wave and smile when he saw them together, but others were not so nice. Some humans stared at Zira like she was a strange animal. Some aliens whispered when they saw her walking with Jake. The whispers hurt Zira more than the stares. They think I don't belong anywhere, she told Jake one night. They're wrong, Jake said firmly. You belong with me. You belong here. 3 weeks into their time together, Zira got sick. It started with her scales looking dull. Then she became very tired and couldn't eat. Jake rushed her to Dr. Kevin. It's scale rot, Kevin said after examining her. Kithaerons get it when they're stressed or not getting the right nutrition. Is it serious? Jake asked, worried. It can be. She needs a specific medicine, something called lichen root extract. Jake had never heard of it. Where do I get it? Kevin looked uncomfortable. That's the problem. It only grows on the Kitharin home world. And with the political situation right now, they're not selling any to outsiders. Jake felt panic rising in his chest. There has to be another way. I'll make some calls, Kevin said. Maybe someone in the alien quarter knows something. While Kevin made his calls, Jake sat with Zira in the medical bay. Her scales were getting duller by the hour. She was weak and could barely keep her eyes open. Am I going to die? She asked quietly. No, Jake said, trying to sound confident. We're going to fix this, I promise. Kevin came back an hour later with bad news. The Kitharin embassy won't help. They say she's not their responsibility anymore. The official trade channels are closed. What about unofficial channels? Jake asked. Kevin lowered his voice. There's a black market dealer named Rex who might have some, but it's expensive. Very expensive. How expensive? More than you make in a year. Jake thought about his savings. He had been putting money away for years, hoping to maybe buy a small ship someday and leave the station. It was everything he had. Set up the meeting. He said. Kevin looked surprised. Jake, this could wipe you out financially. I don't care. Rex the dealer was a small, nervous man who met them in a dark corner of the station's lower levels. He had shifty eyes and spoke in whispers. Thyken root extract, very rare, very valuable, he said. You sure you can pay? Jake showed him his account balance. Rex's eyes went wide. All of it, Rex said. For one dose. One dose? How long will that last? Maybe a month. If she gets sick again, you need more. Jake's heart sank. Even if he spent everything he had, it might not be enough. But looking at Zira, pale and weak in his arms, he knew he had no choice. Deal, he said. The medicine worked. Within hours of taking it, Zira's scales began to brighten. Her energy came back. She was able to eat again. Jake had never been so relieved in his life, but the experience taught him something important. Taking care of Zira wasn't just about love and good intentions. It was also about understanding her specific needs as a Kitharin. Jake threw himself into learning more about her species. He found a friendly Kitharin scientist named Dr. Amy Chun, who worked in the station's research lab. Amy was a hybrid, half human and half Kitharin, so she understood both cultures. Zira's scale pattern is actually quite remarkable, Amy told Jake after examining the girl. Most Kitharins see it as a curse, but from a scientific standpoint, it's fascinating. What do you mean? Jake asked. The different colored scales aren't just pretty. They're sensitive to electromagnetic fields that normal Kitharins can't detect. She can probably see things that others can't. Jake looked at Zira, who was drawing pictures in the corner of the lab. Her drawings were always full of swirling patterns and strange colors. Is that why her drawings look so unusual? He asked. Probably. She's drawing what she sees, but it's invisible to the rest of us. This discovery made Jake realize that Zira wasn't just different. She was special in ways that even she didn't understand yet. But it also made him worry. If word got out about Zira's unique abilities, there might be people who would want to use her or take her away for study. Can we keep this between us for now? Jake asked Amy. Amy nodded. Of course. But Jake, you should know that gifts like this usually get stronger as Kitharins grow up. She's going to need guidance on how to control and use her abilities. Then I'll learn how to help her with that too. That night, Jake and Zira sat together. In their small quarters, Zira was working on a new drawing, while Jake studied a book about Kitharin culture. Jake? Zira said without looking up from her picture. Yeah? Why did you spend all your money to make me better? Jake had been wondering when she would ask about that. Because that's what family does. We take care of each other. But I'm not really your family. I'm just an alien kid that nobody wanted. Jake put down his book and looked at her seriously. Zira, listen to me. Family isn't just about having the same blood or coming from the same planet. Family is about choosing to love someone and never giving up on them. You're my family because I choose you to be my family, and I will never, ever give up on you. Zira's eyes filled with tears, but they were happy tears. I choose you too, she said softly. Jake smiled and pulled her into a hug. Outside their window, the stars shone bright in the darkness of space. But inside their small room, Jake and Zira had found something that many beings searched the galaxy for and never found. They had found home in each other. Zira stared at Jake with wide eyes. Stay with you? She whispered. Yes, Jake said. If you want to. I know I'm not Kitharin, and I don't know much about your people, but I care about you, and I think we could take care of each other. Zira was quiet for a long time. Then she nodded slowly. I would like that, Jake smiled. Good, but first I need to talk to some people. This might be complicated. He was right. It was very complicated. Jake went to see Commander Lisa Park first. She was in charge of station security and dealt with situations like this. When Jake told her what he wanted to do, she nearly dropped her coffee. You want to what? She asked. I want to adopt Zira. Take care of her. Be her guardian. Lisa shook her head. Jake, that's never been done before. Humans don't adopt alien children. The paperwork alone would be a nightmare. So we make new paperwork, Jake said. Someone has to be the first. It's not that simple. There are laws, rules. What? About when she grows up? Kitharins live 3 times longer than humans. She'll still be young when you're old and dying. Jake had thought about this. Then I'll make sure she has other people who care about her. But right now, she needs someone. And I want to be that someone. Lisa studied Jake's face. She had known him for years. He was a good man, but this seemed crazy even for him. The station commander will have to approve this, she said finally. And probably a dozen alien governments too. Then let's start asking. The next person Jake talked to was Dr. Kevin Walsh. Kevin was more supportive, but still worried. Do you know anything about raising a Kitharin child? Kevin asked. I'll learn, Jake said. I'm good at learning. Their diet is very specific. They need certain minerals that humans don't. And they have to keep their scales moist, or they get sick. Then teach me what I need to know. Kevin smiled. You're serious about this, aren't you? Dead serious? Word spread quickly around the station. Jake Morrison, the maintenance guy, wanted to adopt an alien child. Some people thought it was sweet. Others thought it was stupid. You're making a mistake, said Pete Collins, another. Human engineer. That kid will never fit in with humans. And you'll never understand her alien ways. Maybe, Jake said, but I have to try. 3 days later, something happened that made everything worse. A Kitharin ship arrived at the station. On it was Elder Vex, an important Kitharin official. He had come to deal with the Zira problem. Jake was called to a meeting with Elder Vex, Commander Lisa Park, and Captain Maria Santos, who ran the entire station. Elder Vex was tall and intimidating. His scales were dark green and perfect. When he spoke, his voice was cold and harsh. I understand there is some confusion about the young one called Zira, he said. No confusion, Captain Santos replied. We're trying to find her a good home. There is no good home for such a one, Elder Vex said. She is marked by the curse. Her scales show the old sickness. In the old days, such younglings would not be allowed to live. Jake felt his hands tighten into fists. She's just a little girl. Elder Vex looked at Jake like he was something unpleasant on his shoe. You are human. You do not understand our ways. I understand that you're talking about killing a child because her scales are different colors. Not killing, but she cannot live among proper Kitherans. There is a place for such ones. A work facility where they can be useful. Jake's blood went cold. A work facility? You mean slave labor. I mean a place where she can serve a purpose despite her curse. Captain Santos leaned forward. Elderthex, we appreciate your concern, but we have a human citizen who wants to care for the child. Elderthex laughed. It was not a nice sound. A human cannot raise a Kitheran child. It is impossible. The human will not understand her needs. She will die or go mad. I won't let that happen, Jake said. You are a fool, Elderthex replied. But if you wish to try, you may. When the child dies or runs away, do not blame us. After Elderthex left, Captain Santos turned to Jake. Are you sure about this? He might be wrong about a lot of things, but he's right that this will be hard. I'm sure, Jake said. That night, Jake went to see Zira. She was in her temporary room, looking sad. I heard the Kitheran elder came, she said quietly. Yes, but don't worry about him. He can't hurt you. He said I was cursed, that I would bring you bad luck. Jake sat down beside her. Do you know what I think about luck? Zira shook her head. I think we make our own luck. Good people doing good things together. That's the best luck there is. Zira smiled a little. You really want me to stay with you? More than anything, even though I'm different. Especially because you're different. Different is what makes you special. Over the next few days, Jake started learning everything he could about Kitheran children. Dr. Kevin taught him about their diet and health needs. He found books about their culture and language. He even talked to some of the friendlier Kitherans on the station. Most of them thought he was crazy, but a few were helpful. An old Kitheran merchant named Korvak told him about traditional Kitheran songs and stories. The little one, she will need to know these things, Korvak said. Even if she cannot live with our people, she should know where she comes from. Jake also started fixing up his quarters to make room for Zira. His place was small, but he could make it work. He got a bed for her and some Kitheran, food from the market. The hardest part was dealing with all the officials who had opinions about what he was doing. Humans from Earth sent messages saying it was a bad idea. Alien governments complained. Everyone had something to say about Jake and Zira, but Jake didn't care what they said. He cared about the little girl who had been thrown away by her own people. He cared about her scared yellow eyes and her beautiful scales that everyone else. Called Cursed Dot 1 week after Elderthex left, Jake got permission to become Zira's temporary guardian. It was just for 30 days, while all the paperwork was sorted out. But it was a stark dot when Jake told Zira the news. She hugged him so tight he could barely breathe. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for not letting them take me away. Nobody's taking you anywhere, Jake promised. You're safe now. You're home. Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his face as he finished fixing another broken pipe in the lower levels of Kepler Station. The big space station was always breaking down somewhere. Pipes leaked, lights failed, and air filters needed cleaning. That was his job. He had been doing it for 5 years now. The station was huge. Hundreds of different alien species came here to trade and do business. Jake had seen them all. The tall blue ones with 4 arms, the small furry ones that talked very fast, the ones that looked like walking trees. After 5 years, nothing surprised him anymore. Or so he thought. Jake was walking back to his room when he heard crying. It was coming from one of the side tunnels that most people never used. He stopped and listened. The sound was soft and sad. It reminded him of a hurt animal. Jake grabbed his flashlight and walked into the tunnel. The crying got louder. He turned a corner and saw something that made him stop. A small figure was sitting against the wall. It had green scales and was about the size of a human child. "Hey there," Jake said softly. He did not want to scare whoever it was. The figure looked up. Jake saw big yellow eyes full of tears. It was a young Kitharin. Jake had seen adult Kitharins before. They were tall reptile people with green scales and long tails. This one was very small, probably just a child. The young Kitharin tried to move away from Jake. She pressed herself against the wall like she was afraid. "It's okay," Jake said. He sat down on the floor to look less scary. "I won't hurt you. What's your name?" The child did not answer. She just stared at Jake with those big yellow eyes. Jake tried to remember some Kitharin words. He had learned a few over the years. "Name?" he said in the Kitharin language. It sounded wrong when he said it, but the child seemed to understand. "Zira." She whispered, "Zira. That's a pretty name." "I'm Jake." He pointed to himself. "Jake." Zira nodded, but did not say anything else. "Are you lost?" Jake asked. "Where are your parents?" At this, Zira started crying again. She curled up into a ball and made sad sounds. Jake felt his heart break a little. He had always been soft when it came to kids. Human kids, alien kids, it did not matter. He could not stand to see them hurt. Okay, he said gently. "You don't have to talk about it. Are you hungry?" Zira looked up. She nodded slowly. "Come on then. I know where we can get some food." Jake stood up and held out his hand. Zira looked at it for a long time. Then, very slowly, she reached out and took it. Her hand was small and warm and covered in tiny scales. They walked together through the tunnels. Jake took her to a quiet part of the station where there was a small food place. The owner was a friendly human woman named Betty. "Well, who do we have here?" Betty asked when she saw them. "This is Zira," Jake said. "She's hungry. Do you have anything that Kitharins can eat?" Betty looked at the small girl. "Poor thing looks scared to death." "Yes, I have some vegetable soup that should be safe for her." While they waited for the food, Jake tried to get more information from Zira. He learned that she had come to the station on a Kitharin ship. Her guardian had died during the trip. The other Kitharins on the ship did not want her. "Why?" Jake asked. Zira lifted her arm. Jake saw that her scales were different colors. Most Kitharins had solid green scales. Zira's scales had patches of gold and silver mixed in. They made beautiful patterns on her skin. "Pretty," Jake said, and he meant it. Zira shook her head. "Bad," she said in broken English. "Cursed," Jake frowned. He did not understand why pretty scales would be bad. But he could see that Zira believed it. After Zira ate, Jake took her to see Dr. Kevin Walsh. Kevin was the human doctor on the station. He was a good man who cared about all the different species that lived there. "She's healthy," Kevin said after looking at Zira, "but she's very scared. Someone needs to take care of her." "What about the Kitharins who brought her here?" Jake asked. Kevin shook his head. "They left this morning. Said she was not their problem anymore." "That's terrible. The station commander is trying to find someone to take her. But so far, no luck. The other Kitharins here say she's marked wrong. The Vrex think she's too emotional. The Centaurians don't want anything to do with her." Jake looked at Zira. She was sitting quietly in the corner, trying not to be noticed. His heart hurt for her. What will happen if no one takes her? Jake asked. Kevin sighed. "There's an orphanage on the Kitharin home world. But from what I hear, it's not a nice place. Especially for kids like her who are considered different." That night, Jake could not sleep. He kept thinking about Zira and her scared yellow eyes. He thought about her beautiful scales that everyone else called cursed. He thought about her sitting alone in that tunnel, crying. The next morning, Jake went to find Zira. The station security had put her in a temporary room while they tried to figure out what to do with her. When Jake walked in, her face lit up. "Jake," she said. It was the first time she had smiled since he met her. "Hi, Zira. How are you feeling?" "Scared," she said honestly. Jake sat down next to her. "I know, but I want you to know something. Those scales of yours, they're not cursed. They're beautiful. You're beautiful." Zira looked down at her hands. "Other Kitherans say no." "Well, other Kitherans are wrong. You know what I think? I think you're special, and special is good." For the first time, Zira really smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. Jake made a decision that would change both their lives forever. "Zira," he said, "would you like to stay with me?"